Alright, what is up guys, it's Zero here, and today we're here to take a look at first impressions for G set 13. This set including support for Shadows, Nubas, Gears, Nectar, and Bermuda. So without further ado, let's start. So we'll start by taking a look at Shadows. Shadows, this set, the majority of the support is for Claret sword. And the deck is, just from first impression, the deck is very playable, nothing too terribly impressive. We'll go over the cards anyway. So the GR they got was Claret Sword Dragon Helheim. So his skill is, at the end of the battle that's unit attacked, you can G Persona Flip and call grade 1s from your deck equal to the face of cards in your deck +1. So for example, if you first write this, you can call 2 because you flip the 1, then +1. Second stride, let's say you flip 2 cards before, you go 3 + 1 on, so on and so forth. This card's really good because one, it's not GB locked at all, so you can first stride this, you can second stride this, you can use this as a way to push, you can use this as a way to end games. Usually this is your finisher because at 5 it's just very consistent 3 checks. So yeah, pretty good card. In Claret it is definitely a 4 of. I think this card I optimally would be a 4 in the deck because sometimes you might want to go into early and then you just don't have anything else better to go into, and you want to just use one pair and use second pair on the next turn. So I definitely think for that deck it's a 4 of. I initially wanted to toy around the idea of playing this card in Luard, but the issue with this card is that the only grade 2 that counts as a grade 1 that you could call off is Morian Spear, and the card is kind of a brick if you don't have like a bunch of them in your deck. You don't want to play a bunch of them in your deck. So I thought about the idea, and I don't think I ever went through with it because I think I don't want to play that many bricks in my deck. So Claret is probably a card that is exclusively for Claret. You could maybe throw it in Luard if you really wanted to, but I don't see a reason to. So yeah, for the Claret deck, this card is really good and definitely a 4 of. Speaking of Claret, we also got a new grade 3 Claret. So this is Claret Claret Sword Dragon Revolt. So his stride bonus skill is on stride, CB1 you reveal, or CB1 you get the old recycle for the Claret Sword, or you can choose any number of grade 1s from your drop zone other than PGs and put them back into your deck. And then the actual skill is you look at the top card of your deck until you reveal 2 grade 1s, and then you call one of them to board, and then you add the other one to hand. So on stride is just a straight up +2, so that's pretty good there. I do think it's really they really didn't need to include the part where you can't add PGs back to your deck because like, yeah, you could technically just like put PGs back and then just grab them all, and that would be pretty annoying, but Luard was doing that anyways for the past, like, who knows however many, like 3-4 sets. So I honestly don't see a reason why they decided to give this limitation to Claret again. Like, the first time I could kind of understand, because back when Claret first came out in set 3, the game was still pretty slow, and infinitely recurable PGs would have been pretty annoying for most decks to deal with. But I think we are past the point where PG recursion like this is something I consider broken, considering Luard is already doing it. So New Nectar can do it to some degree too, back when it was actually a playable deck. So yeah, I don't know why they decided to keep this restriction on. I guess they didn't want Claret to be this like super stall deck, so I guess that's why. But Claret itself is still a really good card. Just every stride, as long as you have CB to pay the cost for it, it is a +2, so that's really good. Granted, not a very high selection because it is whatever you find off the top, so it kind of sucks there. But regardless, a +2 is still a +2, as well as having a recurable a way to not deck out is also really good. And then his GB2 is also really good. At the end of your turn, you can just retire one of your grade 1 rears, and if you do, he gets +5 catering point until end of your opponent's turn. So this thing can just sit on as a 16k base, so that's pretty good there. Some decks just can't scale on this. Like a lot of decks want to just poke 11 on their first hit. This turns that off completely, forcing them to have 2 boosters on both rears columns. They want to poke you, and then that's got 21 on one side, so that's pretty annoying. This also, I think the most notable thing is that this card, this skill, really makes Dominate or Nubatama very unhappy to deal with, because all their like Dominate hits are like poking for like barely hitting 11, and this makes it so most of those pokes just cannot hit you. They maybe poke you once. So with how popular Nuba is on ladder, I think Claret Revolt is a cool card just because it dicks on that one deck specifically, but the 16k base can be annoying for other decks as well. So This card's pretty good. And then the other support I got, the two main pieces of support that Claret got is the Morrigan Spear. So his skill is deck and drop. If your GB1, if your Vanguard is a Claret sword, he gets -1 grade. So meaning he's a grade 1 in deck, meaning he can be called off of the Helheim and he can be recycled off of the revolt. So really, really good there. And then GB1, if this unit is attacking a van and is boosted by a grade 1, he gets +5, so he makes 21 column, meaning your scaling on a Helheim term is really, really good as well. So very, very crucial part to why I think Claret is actually a playable deck. I think Morrigan Spear plays a very big part to that because he is a pseudo-searchable intercept off of Helheim, maybe even off of revolt if you find it off the top. And it's recyclable, and it just does a really good thing for the deck. So this card very, very good. And then the other piece of support that Claret got is the I think his name is the Blue Spotted Dragon. So this card has two skills. If your Vanguard is a Claret sword and you are paying the cost of stride, this card you can pay the cost of stride with this card on rear with the cost of sacking it off. So basically, if this card is on your board and you are paying for stride, you can, instead of dishing grade up to 3, you can just sack it off instead to pay for cost. And the other skill is in hand, if you're paying the cost of stride, where a Claret in your Vanguard is a Claret sword, it gets +2 grades. So stride fodder on board and stride fodder on in your hand. So really, really good. This definitely, in my opinion, better than the old stride fodder, the brand one. Yes, you can't search out the Claret, which really sucks, but I think this card being a stride fodder on board just makes it more versatile overall to be played as opposed to the brand one. So I definitely think this card is also a really, really good piece of support for Claret sword. So I think that's all for the relevant Claret support. Overall, I think Claret went from being this like unplayable garbage tier deck to like actually serviceable now with a really cool niche of also being able to deal with one of the most popular decks on ladder. Is it a top tier meta threat by any means? Probably not. I don't think so. Off of like the first 5 days that I played, 4 or 5 days of ladder. Deck is, I played the deck with it a bit myself. I definitely don't think it's any like top tier meta contender, but I definitely think it's a bare bones playable deck. And as for the other Shallow Paladin I think support, it's Luard. They got a bunch of like whatever cards. I think there's 2 main pieces here that the deck is going to play. The first one being the cover card of the set, being Dragstrider. So GB2, Ritual 7, ditch 2, or retire 2 rears, cost, when this unit attacks, retire 2 rears and ditch any number of cards in your hand. For every 1 card you ditch, you get +3k. So realistically, you're never ditching more than 2. I don't see a reason to ditch more than 2. So this card might as well just read retire 2, ditch 2. Or rather, retire 2, ditch any number of cards, and gets +3. And the reason you want to ditch 2 is because if you ditch 2 or more, it gains additional effects. So retire 2, let's just read this as ditch 2, so it gets +6 because you're ditching 2. And then if you ditch 2 or more, you draw 1, he gets a crit, he gets a +1 drive, and he gets glory restrict. So this card is very nice because it is a glory restrict that does not care about the opponent's board like Phantom Blast or Diablo. In Luard specifically, it does not flip anything, meaning you have more things to try into, because Luard specifically, in my opinion, had the biggest issue before of running out of things in the G zone to actually go into, because for 0 damage, the deck just kind of burned through his G zone really, really fast, because like a lot of strides flipped, and because of that, Phantom Blaster Dragon wasn't even played in the G zone because it flipped and it took up too much space. Dragstrider is a card that is very self-sufficient, or rather, it doesn't flip, meaning you have more things to go into, and yeah, and because of that, I think Dragstrider is a really good inclusion in the deck. Ritual 7 can be kind of annoying, but I think overall, this card is still a very nice inclusion to the deck. It gives the deck a chance to actually lethal from 0, because you have 4 drive checks, meaning if your stack has 4 crits, you can go, he gets a crit himself, you draw 1, and then you flip crit 4 times. You have 6 crit with Glorious Trick. Technically, you kill someone from 0 with that. Will it ever happen? It's doable, but probably not realistic. But yeah, just something to note, that something you could do. But I think this card is still a very good inclusion in the deck, regardless of its like slightly harsher condition and relatively heavy cost. Because ditch 2, sack 2 to draw 1 back. So like it's still a -3 at the end of the day, just like Phantom Blaster Dragon. But yeah, I think this is definitely better. It is definitely better than Phantom Blaster Dragon when looking at which one you'd play in Luard. So yeah. Definitely a very solid card. And the other relevant piece of support, in my opinion, that the deck got is the Nawiz. So I think this is the guy. His skill is GB1, Ritual 3, on play, check top 5 cards of your deck. and you can call a grade 1 or lower card from among them, among that 5, and then put the shuffle the rest back in your deck, and then it gets power. It turns itself to a soul attacker bare minimum, so that's pretty cool. This card is good because they dig you more fodder for your other sack skills, dragstrider, Ogma, stuff like that. So I think it's pretty cool just for that. But the biggest issue with this card is that since this card doesn't have a cost tied to it, the check top 5 is mandatory, meaning you can meaning sometimes if you just want to play this card down, even if you didn't want to call anything to begin with, this card will force you to shuffle your deck, meaning it can screw over your stack. So that's kind of annoying, but I think even with that, this card is still a relatively solid card for the deck, and it's something you should at least consider playing, even if you don't end up playing it. I myself am playing this card in my current list, so I think this card is pretty solid too. So yeah, so that's it for Shadows. Overall, Claret playable deck. Luard got some cool stuff, but after nerfs, the 0 damage version is definitely not as good as it used to be. But I think there are ways to play around that. You just gotta take a different viewpoint look on the deck. How you interpret that is up to you. You can figure that out yourself. So yeah, so that's it for Shadows. Next off, we have I'll take a look at Nubas. Nubas didn't get a whole lot of relevant support. They got a bunch of cards, but however, a lot of it is after image support. So I don't even remember how after image works. I think it's like when a card from your opponent's bind goes back to the hand. If you have like less than X amount of cards in hand, if you can bounce the card back to hand. So it's cool, but I don't think any of the after image cards are actually like good and worth playing in Dominate. I think it's like a cool like side build, I guess. We use like the old Shiranui instead, but still play the good Shiranui. So I don't know. I'm not gonna go over most of the after image stuff. So, but we will go over the good Dominate cards that the deck got. So the first one being the Tamahagane Metsu, I think is the name. This is like the new bear. So its skill is on play, bind the top card of your deck. So this is mandatory. Unfortunately, I think this is the worst part of the card, that it is mandatory. But the other skill is GB1 once per turn. When a unit you dominated attacks, you can CB1 and add a card from your bind to your hand and give it +5. So this card is a way, basically on a dominate turn, this card basically reads CB1, draw 1, and +5. Because the card you bind immediately goes back to your hand. The reason why this card is kind of awkward is because if you ride this card or have to call down early, you bind the card without a way to get it back to your hand, which really, really sucks. Yeah. But regardless, I think this card's still really good for the deck because it is still at the end of the day just a draw 1 for the most part. So because of that, I think this card is definitely worth playing in the deck. Next off, most of this is it's really only this card. This card's okay too. This card has after image, but the relevant effect is on play, you can rest itself to give a unit +2, and then choose one of your opponent's rearguards and bind it, and then at the end of turn it goes back to your hand. So basically, this card is like another copy of your grade 2 Tamahagane, the old one, where it just like on play to bind a card, just get rid of it so you can swing it face more times. So this card gives 2K, which is cool. Not only power is 2/2 relevant, but the fact that this card does just get rid of the intercept is pretty nice too. So I think this card also worth considering in the deck. And as for the actual last relevant card, it would be the Shiranui Mukuro. So his skill is GB2 once per turn, Soul Blast 2. Flip anything in your G zone, so it does not have to be a G flip. So this card realistically is just a one of. I was going with, because Soul Blast 2 is a very heavy cost. You want to be using your soul for other effects as well. So and you don't really want to be using this card more than once for the most part anyway. So one up, very, very, very nice. This card is not a G flip because it makes it a very nice one up to have. So Soul Blast 2, flip anything in your G zone, and then discard one card, and then you dominate your opponent's Vanguard, and then and then your opponent's Vanguard swings at all of the rears, all in one attack, and you draw 2. And then you also perform drive checks, so you get to drive check twice. So this card basically reads board clear, draw 2, which is pretty solid. Board clear, draw 2, do 2 extra drive checks. Very, pretty cool. Fun fact: if you dominate a legion, with the way how this effect is worded, if you dominate a legion, you draw 4, because I think the wording of this card is dominate the opponent's band, and then when that unit attacks, draw 2, and since there's 2 bands, you perform the action twice, so you draw 4. I think that's really funny. That's how that works. But yeah, this card basically Soul Blast 2, flip anything, discard 1, dominate their van swings at everything, draw 2, pretty cool. A very, very nice addition to the deck. Very nice that it's only a 1 of in the deck. I think that's the nicest part. And yeah, very, very good. I don't see reason not to play, just play the 1. Very cheap too. Like if you don't want to play the set, just craft the 1, call it a day. So yeah, very nice. Overall thoughts, again, after image stuff, I think is its own separate like build. I've seen a lot of people just play it in Dominate, but I personally do not see the payoff of it very much. You know, playing this stuff in Dominate, so I could be wrong, but I don't see a reason to play it. But Nubas were already a really powerful deck from last set. This deck just got even more cool cards to throw in. So yeah, deck it was already good, just got even better. So nothing bad to say about that. Next up, we'll go over Gears. So Gears actually got a bunch of stuff, and I think Gears are actually really good now, or at the very least playable. Gears mainly got their support got split into 2 basically. They got Chrono Jet support and Chrono Fang support, but they all share the trait of ZTVs, meaning some of the stuff is interchangeable. I will mainly go over the Chrono Jet stuff. I don't care for the Chrono Fang stuff. I don't think that deck is particularly bad either. It's like cool, but I don't know what half those cards do, and I don't really care to read them either. But Chrono Fang stuff is cool. I'll just leave it at that, and we'll go over the Chrono Jet stuff. So first off, Gears got 2 GRs. Both of them are really good. First up is Gear Next. So his skill is GB2 on play. You can G Persona Flip, so you do need at least 2 copies of this card for this to work. You G Flip to gain the following 2 effects. Once per turn, at the end of the battle, this unit attacked. I think it's anything. I don't remember if it has to be banned or not. Choose 3 ZTVs from either your board or your hand and put them back into your deck. Draw 1, restand, drive -2. So it is a restanding van with the cost of returning 3 cards either on board or from hand back to deck to restand. You draw 1, so it's only a -2 there. So it's really cool there. The very good thing with this is that this card does put cards back into your deck, which I think for Gears before, a big part of the deck's issue was that it couldn't push and it decked out very easily. This card fixes both those issues just by itself, so very good there. And it gets even better because it also has the skill GB4, which you think about is really hard. It's like, wow, for GB4, but it's actually really easy to achieve because your first stride is almost always Split Pegasus, and that card will flip. That's GB2. You stride this, you flip, that's GB4. So GB4 might as well not be a condition. You will almost always have this active. So GB4, if it is if it's the second battle that this unit attacked, draw 1 plus 10k plus a drive. So the first skill makes it lose 2 drives. The second skill gives it back 8 drives, so it becomes twin drive, and you draw 1, and it gets really big. So I have nothing bad to say about this card. I think this card is actually like amazing for what gears. I think this card is absolutely cracked. I think that being said, I think it's only a 2 of, so not the most expensive thing to get there, but I think Gear Next solves a lot of issues that the deck had. Deck out, not being able to push. This does both really well, and even though it is returned 3 cards back to deck, you draw 2 back, so it's only a -1, so it doesn't feel particularly bad either to actually go into. So very good card. I definitely think this card is at least a 2 of in the deck. Probably only 2 because you don't think you want to be going this more than once, just because again, deck out might be an issue. So yeah. And the second GR that got is also really good, the Avenir Phoenix. So this card's skill is when this unit attacks, CB1 G flip. So this card's also a G flip, unfortunately. Check top 5 cards of your deck, and then for every I think it's for every 1 face up card in your G zone, you get to call 2 ZTVs. So you can use this stuff, just call entire board, just reset. This is like just an attack. This is your finisher. CB1, like reset a full board. Best thing about this deck is this deck has Nubatama, the back row intercept, so you can use this to fish for those as well. So not only can you be pushing for game, if they live, you can set up a bunch of back row intercepts that are still in your deck to actually survive their kill turn. So very good there. And then GB3 RZTBs get +2, so your lanes are also scaling better. So yeah, good finisher. Early game, if you just need to make a board, this card can just make a board for you. I think this card is very good. Definitely your best finisher. I think this card is bare minimum a 2 of. I think optimally is probably a 4 of. But most people can't get that, so I think 2 is probably fine because I'm playing a 2 of myself, and I think I haven't had any games where I really wish I had to compare it just yet. So very good card. Minimum 2 of, probably optimally a 4 of. So yeah. And then next up for the other support, I actually got this thing, the Unicorn. So GB1 during both players' turn, your Vanguard's a Chronojet +2, so 11k attacker and intercept, so always a good there. And then when this GB1, when this unit attacks the Vanguard, if your van is a Chronojet, you can CB1 check top. I think it's check top cards equal to the number of ZTB rears you have, and then call one card from among them that's not a copy of itself. So this card is your attack extender as well. And your entire deck is ZTB, so basically check top X equal number of cards on your board. So very, very good card. Definitely play in the deck, and I think it's definitely a 4/2 because there's cool things you can do with it. You can either just use it as a very generic attack extender, or you can use it to fish for Napadas to put into the back row, which I think is really, really good. Obviously, you can also fish just to throw cards into the back to pay cost for your next. So very like cool application you can do with this card. So definitely a very, very good card. I think it's definitely a very good 4-up in Chronojet itself. So yeah, so very, very good card. Next off, I don't know what this thing is, but very similar to the card we just looked at. Instead, this card is only during your turn +2k, so 11k attacker, still slow attacker, so still really good. And then when this unit attacks a van, if your van's a Chronojet, CB1 check top 3 and add a ZTB from among them to your hand. So instead of calling to board, it adds to hand. Still a +1 for a CB, so very, very nice. This deck is actually very light on CB now, so it's very, very good there. So yeah, very, very good card. Definitely play in the deck too. And then next off, the other card is this guy. I don't know this guy's name, but he is also a ZTB on play, not GB locked, so very good there. If your van is a grade 3 or higher ZTB, Soul Blast 1 and reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is a ZTB, you can bot deck when your opponent's rear equal to the card you revealed grade or lower, but you cannot spin 0. So basically, if you check a 3, if you check a 3 type, you can spin 3, 2, or 1. If you check a 2, 2 or 1, if you check a 1, you only spin grade 1s. If you check a 0, you can't spin anything, but the only 0 then that you should be playing is your heal guard. So if you check a 0, you'll be whiffing anyway. So yeah, so very nice. This card's like it's like an RNG Glimmer clone, which kind of sucks. But Glimmer is not a ZTB, which the deck really wants the entire deck to be ZTBs. So because of that, I think this card is your new Glimmer in the deck. Even though it is kind of RNG, it can suck when it whiffs, but you take what you can get. It's nice that it's free too and not GB locked, so there is that as well. So yeah, very good card. Next up, we have a new Stride Fodder for the deck. It's something Draco Kid. On play, ditch any ZTB from your hand to add a grade 3 ZTB from your deck to your hand. When played from hand, and then Stride Fodder +2 grades. So Stride Fodder and can search for ride. But most importantly, this card is ZTB. That's why you play this over the Steam Breath. One downside to this card, you cannot ditch heal guards to search. Use that to search because the heal guards are not ZTBs, but it's whatever because he himself is a ZTB. So yeah, so that is it for the most part for gears. I think Chronojet is a very, very playable deck now, as opposed to before where it had like glaring issues everywhere. I think the deck now is very playable. So yeah. And then next off, the two Booba decks. Honestly, I think both these cleanser got very mediocre support. Fish got their GR is Kaname. It is a Prism support. So score skills. When I think if you have a Prism Heart, when it's doing an attack, CV1 G flip to I think like bounce 2, call 2, and something call 2 Prism. You can get crit. We have 3 base up something like that. So just think of this card as Olivia, but racist towards only being able to call Prism. So that's really sucks there. I honestly don't think this card makes the deck because Olivia with Spica is doing the same thing, but it is not like xenophobic towards Prisms only. Most Prism lists, the only grade 2 they're playing is Celtic. So if you don't have double Celtic in hand, you don't end the board with double Intercept. This card also cannot call Spica. So because of all of those issues, I don't even know if this card makes the deck. Space is also an issue because your G-Zone, you don't want to cut down Labradors. You have your one set of Verts, and then you have your set of 2 sets of Olivias. So because of that, Harmonix is also a mainstay as a 1-of in the deck now, in every deck now. So you have one open slot, and this card's a G-Flip, so kind of sucks there. But yeah, I guess if you don't have 2 sets of Olivias, you can play one of this instead. Basically the same thing, but I don't think the card's very good. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see why you'd play this in the deck at all. And then other stuff, I don't know what any of this other stuff does. There's Loris, so she gets crit on rare. It's cool, I guess. Yeah, Fish pretty mediocre support overall. But yeah, not a whole lot going on for Fish, and I think even less going on for Neo Nectar, to be honest. Their GR is like a card that calls stuff, not really what they're looking for, but it's there, I guess. This card can call cards, cool, and everything else kind of sucks. So yeah, I'm not going to even go over the Neo Nectar. I think everything here is actually terrible. Neo Nectar did not get that one card that people were looking forward to, being the Noelle, the back row attacker, so sucks to suck, I guess. But yeah, that's it for initial impressions of the set. I think the Booba clans kind of got some like basically negligible support, especially Neo Nectar. I think Shiranui got some nice quality of life cards that definitely add more to the deck, which is really cool. Claret's a playable deck now. Luard got some cool extra like tools to play with, and Gears are a very, very playable deck now. So yeah, that's it for my thoughts about this set. Let me know what you guys think about the set down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.